Alright, so this is a review for the X-Men anime, which I was able to catch last week, and I'm just now getting around to reviewing. Alright, this is one of the 4 animes which Marvel did with Madhouse Studios. They made this along with Blade, Wolverine, and Iron Man. I bought Iron Man, but I haven't watched it yet. As things go with the X-Men, in this regard, I will say that for the most part, I did enjoy this anime. This anime is sort of a what you see is what you get type of deal, and there are a couple of things that they do with this series which haven't been done with the 3 animated series which came before this. This is a little more mature. You get to see things a little more graphic, not too graphic, of course, because this is made strictly for American television, but you get to see a little bit more than what you do on the first 3 animated series that they made for the X-Men. The plot of this story revolves mainly around Cyclops, Wolverine, Beast, Storm, Hisako, aka Armor, so it's nice to see one of the relatively ignored mutants from the background of the comics be brought up to forefront, and Professor Xavier, and we also have Emma Frost, formerly of the Hellfire Club, making out our little group for this. And the story is that they have to go over to Japan to investigate a lot of mysterious mutant disappearances. They have to fight the U-Men, and there's this giant mystery that's mounting up about why mutants are disappearing, why Charles Xavier and Cerebro cannot penetrate into this particular part of Japan, and so forth. I like Professor Xavier from what I've seen in this. I really like Wolverine in this. The design on him is certainly not like the abominable look that they gave him over in the Wolverine series. They kind of got like the wild hairdo that he had back in the 90s before they made the 2000 X-Men, and then a majority of the comics started making him look more like Hugh Jackman. I was glad that they went with that group, and Beast, who they've taken and adapted his look from the Grant Morrison New X-Men run, which is awesome. I like Cyclops to the extent I like his design. I like his voice actor and the other voice actors as well. Steve Blum returns to do Wolverine. Fred Tatasciore does Beast. I really didn't like Storm in this one. Again, she's shafted, and they made her look more like Halle Berry, and the voice for her horribly, horribly miscast. And I really hope that the next time that they do an X-Men animated series, which, being a fan of it, I will go around to see it again, even though I'm giving up on certain reinterpretations of superheroes after a while, but I really hope they return some attention to her. But I just didn't like her in this one. I like Emma Frost in this one, which is to say I liked her over in Wolverine and the X-Men, but I like her so much more here. They don't develop the romance in between her and Scott Summers in this, so if anybody was kind of complaining off that, there is a rivalry for them in between the episodes of this series for the most part. The animation is really good. There's a lot of great stuff which is taken here, and a lot of the Madhouse designs are not as prominent in these characters as they have been in other things. Case in point, that Wolverine anime, ooh, I really hated that design on Wolverine, but they stuck a little bit more to a lot of the comics, and took some other inspirations, and they kind of amalgamated it together, so that's really good. As for the villains in this, well, we kind of touch off in the first episode with just getting off of the Dark Phoenix saga. Jean Grey was okay in this for what little bit of time that she had in this. I thought the Phoenix looked really good in animation. But really didn't like what they did with the Hellfire Club. I'm going to let it slide on what they did with the U-Men, mostly because I haven't read too much with the U-Men in them, so I don't know what a proper portrayal for them should be. And I really hate that they're kind of downplayed because they were supposed to be the prominent enemy throughout the series, but after episode 4, they just stopped being a problem. What is the problem is, as I said, with the Hellfire Club. Sebastian Shaw is not in charge of the group. Instead, what we have is Jason Wingard, or Mastermind, running the group. And he looks more like... Because I get the vibe that he's kind of looking like Mr. Sinister. But I just didn't like the design on him, and I didn't like the other mutants that they had working for him, i.e., you had Rat, you had Marsh. Marsh was kind of cool, and Neuron, who was just kind of one that they pulled out of their ass at the end of or towards the end of the series. There's the woman in here whose name, unfortunately, I cannot remember. She is the Moira McTaggart of the group, and the big thing revolving around what the mystery is, why all the mutants are coming up and all that is explained. I thought it was interesting. Some of the twists in this I saw coming quite a bit. This is well, I'm going to kind of go ahead and spoil a little bit of the anime if you haven't seen it yet, so sorry, but I will say that this is the animated debut of Legion, which is really cool. Unfortunately, they started dealing with the stuff with the father-son aspect in between Xavier and Legion, who is not using his comic book name in this. He has a Japanese name. And it was interesting, but it was not really dealt with as well as I would have liked. The conclusion of the series was anticlimactic, but then, let's face it, with a lot of things that I've seen, there's not really much of a climactic ending to any of a lot of the stuff that I watch, which is kind of disappointing. But for the most part, the story is engaging enough to where it's entertaining. While I did like Wolverine and the X-Men, it did have kind of a sense of mediocrity to it. This has a little bit more going on for it, I will say that much. And you have like 12 episodes, which I really wish that they had been allowed to expand upon this for a second season, because I'm starting to sense that this is a tradition that Marvel is now finding, which they have series which they will develop every couple of years, and they're going to cut it off and go into something else. And that's probably one of the biggest irritations about this, is that there's only so much that they got to cover in this. But for what you've seen, if you can pick this up on a rental, or you might find it on the cheap used a month or two from now in a movie store, I would recommend picking this up if you're an X-Men fan, or just a fan of anime and you kind of don't know much about comic book characters. I think this is definitely something worthwhile to watch for the time. But I might give it a little bit of time and then try rewatching it again and see if it has any rewatchability to it. So, bottom line, perhaps if you didn't like Wolverine or Iron Man wasn't up to your taste, give this a try. Because until I actually see Blade, I would go ahead and call this the best of the Marvel animes.